So Nigeria is on the news and it's not looking good. And I think it's about time a Nigerian government started the practice of humility and self-correction. Enough with the self-praise and the hype. Let's face reality. Nigeria isn't remotely close to living up to its fullest potential. And it hasn't for the longest time now. I think Nigeria is currently in denial. And they've probably been in denial for like 3 decades now. You are not the giants of Africa. Not by a long shot. Or at least not in the manner in which you think you are. Population-wise, sure. But in many other fields, that is highly debatable. And it is time to face that reality and get your act together. So apparently there's a genocide in Nigeria. Also, some people claim. The Christians, for one, are screaming out loudly. And the world is listening very attentively this time around. Because this has been going on for a while now. Let's watch this video.
Cambodia! All the clergies, we are tired! It's better for me to be in police custody. It's better for me to be in army barrack in the cell than to be outside performing burial every day. My brother was there too. And they expect us to silence. Now, it's an order. It's not an advice. Every one of you must be ready for self-defense.
This is not an instruction you usually hear from a Christian clergyman. Things are clearly changing in Nigeria.
Without bias, you can't be living in the house without something to protect yourself. Had it we have something, these people could have been alive. Nigerian government came out openly and denied there is no massacre. There is no genocide of Christians in Nigeria. And look at it today. Is there any Muslim here? No. United Nations, I know you're watching me. American Senate, you are watching what I'm doing, I'm saying here. Look, special advisor on religious matters to Trump. I know we met in India. And what I have in heart, look at it here on ground.
So this is where we are now in our giant of Africa. Okay, you can tell the Christians are getting really frustrated. They have turned the other cheek long enough and there's nothing left. It is now just dry bones. They have nothing left to offer. And if they pick up arms, and I'm not saying they would, well, they are being advised in this video to pick up arms, so you never know. But if they do, then where does Nigeria go from here? Seriously.
Nigeria, they are killing Christians in Nigeria, massacre Christians.
So is this genocide real or is it just fabricated nonsense? Well, the Christian victims are speaking out as you've seen in the video. We see the burnt churches, we see the lifeless bodies, but there are some who still insist that there's no such thing as a Christian genocide happening in Nigeria. Trump's advisor on African affairs, he doesn't look to me like someone who should be advising Donald Trump on Africa, but what do I know? He claims there isn't such a thing as a genocide against Christians in Nigeria. Take a listen.
This is certainly unfortunate. Of course, any incident, any loss of life is absolutely unfortunate. Those who know the terrain well know that terrorism has no color and no religion and no tribe. People of all religions and all tribes are dying as a result of terrorist acts. But it's very unfortunate. We even know that Boko Haram and ISIS are killing more Muslims than Christians.
If they say they kill Muslims, Muslims are being killed. By who? By Muslims.
So people are suffering from all sorts of backgrounds. This is not specifically targeted about one group or the other.
Some senators are also denying it, and they put up pretty much the same argument. There can't be a genocide against Christians in Nigeria if Muslims are being killed as well.
But I can tell you that a lot of Muslims have lost their lives in the last 5-10 years. The same way Christians have also lost their lives. So my personal opinion is that Nigerians have lost their lives as a result of insurgencies, banditry, and others.
Now, on this particular argument, what I'll say is these two things can be true at the same time without contradicting each other. One, some Muslims, not all Muslims, but some Muslims are being targeted in Nigeria by other Muslims, extremists. And I'll get into why this is happening in a bit. But that cannot be considered a genocide, since the intention here isn't to completely wipe out Islam in these jurisdictions. These are killings within Islam, right? So it can be considered a genocide. And two, there's a deliberate campaign by these same extremists to wipe out Christians in some jurisdictions in Nigeria. These two statements can be true at the same time without contradicting each other. That both Muslims and Christians are being targeted by the same group of Muslims. But one qualifies as a genocide, whilst the other isn't. And so we have extremists like Boko Haram in Nigeria, who hold the view that their ideology or their theology reigns supreme amongst the various sects of Islam. And so any Muslim who opposes them can be targeted for execution. And we've seen some imams in Nigeria come out publicly to condemn Boko Haram, but after publicly ridiculing Boko Haram, they themselves get targeted, right? So there are Muslims being killed, there are Muslims being targeted. The moderate Muslims who oppose the killings of so-called infidels by these extremists are themselves being targeted and also killed. And these extremists are being urged on by other radical Islamist scholars in Nigeria. And so yes, Muslims are being killed. And these killings are just as evil as what is happening to the Christians. No doubt about that. But it is not the same as the targeted, one-sided onslaught of innocent Christians in Nigeria, where there is a deliberate campaign to erase anything remotely resembling Christianity. And so if there is a church, burn it down. If there are Christians gathering, just kill them all. That gray area you need to cross in order to be considered a genocide has already been crossed, because their intentions are clear. This is a war against Christianity. And there's also a question as to whether the government or some members of the government or politicians are complicit in what is happening in Nigeria. And the answer to that is an emphatic yes. And where's my evidence? Minidi. I don't have any evidence, but you are my evidence. Okay, if you are African and you're watching this video, then you know. You've seen it happen in your own countries. Whenever there are minor or major skirmishes between tribes or ethnic groups or religions within an African country, it is common knowledge that politicians always get involved. Most sponsors of terror acts are either politicians or they have very close ties to politicians. And that is how come they are able to evade law enforcement agencies a lot of the times. Okay? They have inside men. They have men in very high places in government. And so it's a no-brainer. There are definitely people, in Nigeria, politicians in Nigeria that are complicit in what is happening. And this has become even more serious for the senators, because I think this issue is currently in the US Senate. Okay, they are sitting on it. And the senators are kind of staying, because some in the US are calling for various sanctions to be meted out against certain individuals in Nigeria. And the politicians don't want this. Okay, so they are coming out and they are denying that there's any such thing as a genocide against Christians in Nigeria, because they don't want to be at the receiving end of any sanctions from the US. So in Ghana, for instance, we are considered to be among the 5 most peaceful countries in Africa. When there are minor tribal skirmishes in this country, when there are tribal disputes in this country, it is common knowledge. The media is well aware. Ghanaians know. Even some politicians come out and they give hints. Okay, they call on some of their colleagues who may be involved in these conflicts to back down, to let peace reign. And so it is common knowledge that politicians always get involved. And if it is happening in Ghana, it is happening in every other country in Africa. So where does Nigeria go from here? I don't know. Okay, this is just currently unfolding. Don't get me wrong. This has been happening in Nigeria for a long time now. But the amount of global attention it is getting currently is unprecedented. And like I said, the Christians have had enough. Okay, so as for the Christians, their plight is clear. They aren't targeting any group of people in Nigeria. And they want the targeted killings on themselves to end. It's really simple. Okay, so end the assault on the church, or else